Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Power Podcast live stream series, and of course, the All-Star live stream series. I'm your co-host slash moderator, Brother Bedford, and I want to thank you on behalf of myself and Dr. George C. Fraser for sharing with us a moment of your most valuable asset, and that is your time. We thank you for doing that. And in fact, we encourage you to go out right now, share, tell everyone we're live and in living color with Dr. George C. Fraser and Sharai Robbins, and we're going to talk about some very powerful tools that could help you to grow and develop your business. So go out right now and tell them to come away from the news right now. Come in and let's take a moment, take a deep breath, and let's get back to some self-analyzing, some self-examination, and some self-correction to kind of help us to get through this thing. We need to take a deep breath. So do that first. I normally tell you to do that last, but go ahead and start inviting family and friends to the live stream right now. Now, when you do that, what I need you to do after that, go ahead and type in your name and where you're from. Let us know where you're from. Make sure that if you have any questions, put them in the comments section. If you're over on YouTube, we need you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Once you hit that subscribe button, you'll get all of the notifications when these podcasts go live on YouTube. You'll see all of the videos right there in the YouTube channel so that you can be caught up on all of the podcasts we've been doing so far. And then, of course, we want you to follow Dr. George C. Fraser's fan page. And when you follow the fan page, you will immediately get notified when Dr. Fraser goes live. And you'll also get some notifications from all of the other provocative questions and insights and things that he shares with us on a regular basis. And so I need you to go ahead and follow Dr. George C. Fraser's fan page. I also need you to go to www.newblackpower.com. And that's a title right there, right? New Black Power in this moment. We need some new Black power. So go to www.newblackpower.com. Give us your name and email, then I can make sure that you get notified for all of the upcoming podcasts and to keep you abreast of everything that's going on with the Power Networking Conference and Dr. George C. Fraser and all of the previous guests as well. So that's what we need you to do. Make sure you confirm that email. So make sure you check your spam folder just to make sure. Once you enter your name and email, you'll receive a reply email, and there's a link in there for you to confirm to make sure that you get the emails and the notifications. All right. So with that said, now I want to talk about briefly before I hand this over to our host, Dr. George C. Fraser. I talked about your number one asset that you have is your time, but one of the top assets that you must have moving forward and begin to develop is a network. Even in times like this, where there's just so much going on, even in protests, you have to begin to know who you are standing next to, who you're networking with. Do we have common goals, common agendas? Do we click? It's important to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right type of people in this critical hour so that you can not just make your voice heard, but as I stated, to begin to prepare yourself to move forward through this and move forward with people that you can depend on and count on, and vice versa. They can depend and count on you. And that means that we have to learn the skill of networking and choosing and developing effective relationships. And of course, we have the guru, putting hands in quotes, right? But he's the master. The guru is okay, but I love the master of networking. He has been doing it for well over 30 plus years in our community. He really started the conversation in the Black community about building effective relationships, has written 6 best-selling books on the subject. He's the chairman of Fraser Net, which is a networking body, but has morphed into Fraser Nation. So we're talking about networking on a nation level now. So he's done all of that. He's also the founder of the Power Networking Conference, which is the largest conference for African Americans to develop relationships and network, not just in America, but on the entire planet. There isn't a conference like PNC. Dr. Fraser will tell you a little bit more about that later. But one of the things that I'm most proud about, especially in this moment, how I like to introduce him to some, is that he's a business Hall of Famer. You know, we always talk about the GOATs when it comes to sports, and we very rarely have the conversation about the greatest of us who are in the business of arena and in the arena of business and finance. And so we have one of the best on the planet who's been guiding us for years in this arena. So without further ado, I want to turn it over to the Hall of Famer, Dr. George C. Fraser.
Good evening. Another Saturday night, and we have somebody. I got some money because I just got paid, right? All right? Now, how did I get paid? I played golf before I came up here. I played golf today, all right? I told you the last time we were together that I'm a golfer. I've been playing golf for 50 years. Now, the smartest thing I do when I play golf is I play with people who are better than me, right? So I have something to shoot at. I have someone to compete with. So I'm looking at my score. I had a pretty good score today. And what I do is I do data analytics for all of my. I mark down the number of fairways I hit in regulation, the number of putts I take, and the number of second shots that were good, right? So I have some data analytics and I can analyze my game, but most importantly, I can compare my game to the people that in my network, as we play in fours, how they did versus how I did. And so Brother Bedford is right. I mean, that was very, very important. The people you hang with, right, will determine your life. I mean, let's just be candid, right? This is not something I made up. This is biblical, right? Jesus said it, right? And it's a direct quote from Jesus Christ. You know, there are 800,000 words in the Bible, and only 1,100 are direct quotes from Jesus Christ. John 5:30, and Jesus said, I of my own self can do nothing. Now, this was Jesus, the Son of God. He couldn't get it done on his own by himself in a vacuum. So what's up with you, right? He had 12 disciples, one turned on him, 11. So that made 11. That's a magical number. We'll talk about that at another time. We have the perfect guest tonight. She's not only brilliant, but she's gorgeous. That's a heck of a combination. This sister is brilliant and gorgeous. And she's coming on the heels of Andy Enriquez, who talked about the power of telling your story, to verbally craft a story and to tell that story in an engaging and exciting way. Well, there's another side to that as well. You probably ought to be thinking about writing your story as well and leaving your legacy, if it's only for your family and 10 generations from now. And so we're going to unpack that with Sharai Robbin tonight. This is a bad sister. She has helped some of the best and brightest brothers and sisters in America tell their story, write their story, write their book. I think everybody, all of us, should be writing. You should be reading and you should be writing. In fact, it's difficult to write without reading, but leaving a legacy. And I know that we come from an oral tradition, and we're some of the greatest speakers, preachers, evangelists on the planet. No question about that. We're an oral people, and the others are archival people. They write stuff down. Most of these books you see behind me are written by people that don't look like us, but they make some very important points. About half of them are written by people that don't look like us, and the other half are people that do look like us. One of them is a book by Reverend Dr. Freddie Haynes. You're talking about thebomb.com? Oh, that's thebomb.com right there. In terms of oral skills and writing skills, well, you're going to meet the sister that helped him, the great Reverend Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes III, write his book. Sharai Robbins is with us. I want to welcome Sharai Robbins. Just put the camera on this beautiful face. Look at that smile. We were talking about smiles before we went live. Look at that smile, right? I mean, that will light up a room. Do you realize it's actually in a dark room right now? The room is pitch black. It's her smile that's lighting that room up. I know you probably think, oh, she's got great lighting. No. It's dark in there. It's her face and it's her smile that lights up that whole room. So let me properly introduce Sharai, because she's going to be talking about how to write your story. That's what you need to be doing, thinking about that. And she's eminently qualified. So I'm going to read a truncated version of her bio. I'm going to try to do a dramatic read on it. I don't want to take the time to read her whole 10-page bio, because then it would be the end of the show, right? So we want to save as much time for her to tell her story and to educate us and to inform us on what it takes to write your story. Sharai Robbin is a Simon & Schuster best-selling author, speaker, celebrity, ghostwriter, and professional editor. She is also the CEO of Good Ground Literary Services and BOSS, BAE, to a dedicated team of literary BAEs. That's badass editors. It's an acronym. Badass editors. Sharai fell in love with words when she was 8 years old and has maintained her lifelong passion for writing by supporting and serving others along their literary journeys. With a master's in English and composition studies, Sharai has turned her love for language into a multiple six-figure author coaching and publishing business, and has traveled across the country speaking and teaching others how to use their stories to fuel their dreams. With proven book writing strategies and intimate hands-on support, Sharai and the literary badass editors help aspiring authors and influencers discover the greatness in their stories and teach them how to write with confidence so they can publish books that grow their influence, impact, and income. So we'll welcome to our podcast tonight the brilliant and beautiful Sharai Robbin. How you doing?
I'm blessed to be here. I'm absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for that introduction, and I'm excited. So thank you so much.
Well, you're all that in a bag of chips. And you know what I've noticed, you're a faculty member of the Power Networking Conference. You teach one of our workshops on how to write your story, and you do a power talk on how to write your story. And our power talks are our version of TED Talks, and they're about 15 minutes, and you gotta really tell it, and you do. And then there's a workshop that follows your power talk up, an hour and a half workshops where you can take a deep dive. People can meet you and take a deep dive and learn from you. So let me start with sort of an easy, sort of simple question. Do you think everybody has a story?
Yes. The easy, simple answer to that is an absolute yes, right? I think that everyone has some life experience, has gone through something that has impacted them, changed them, made them think or reflect in some way. So the simple answer to that question is yes, everyone has a story. Now, can everyone tell that story? That remains to be seen. But yes, absolutely. Everyone has a story, and everyone's story is valuable, right? I think that that's where people get the misconception when it comes to writing is, should I tell my story? Do people care? Does it really matter? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Yes. Somebody needs to hear your story.
Yeah. And I don't think people should prejudge their story. I mean, but you're right. That fear comes out. Is my story interesting enough? Is it engaging enough? Is it funny? And what I have found that the best writers, Sharai, I have a little experience, 6 best-selling books.
Yes, you do.
Best writers are very transparent. And while people may have a great story, they're reluctant to tell that story, right? So unpack that for us. Now, as a writing motivator, how do you get people beyond the fear of being transparent and tell the truth and tell the real story, because it's the stuff that they're really trying to suppress, I found, that's really the interesting nuggets, right?
Yes.
So how do you get them to that point where they will just let loose and be free and tell you the real deal?
It is often a challenge, right? As an editor, it is going into the sentences and seeing where they're hiding, right? Because you can't skip over certain things in writing. All you have are the words. So we have to follow each word. We have to follow each point in the story. And often, I mean, I'd say 99% of the time, writers are hiding, especially new writers, right? First time out, these are business owners, influencers, these are people with great ideas, and this is their first attempt, first story, first time wanting to tell their message and share their life with the world. And so they pour out, but they skip over pieces. And as an editor, myself and my literary bays, that's my BAE, my badass editors. So myself and the bays are in it like microscopically. And often we're like, you skipped a whole part here, right? This whole part where you say, oh, I realized I needed to love myself. Well, I'm like, I'm sorry. Well, when did that realization occur? How did that realization come to you? What did it feel like? What did you do? Where were you in that moment when you realized? Was it life-changing? Were you sitting on a park bench? Was your ex-husband still slapping your head up against the wall? What was happening to you at this moment? And again, 90% of the time, they're like, you want to know all of that? And I go, well, what you writing it for? If you're not going to show me the ugly, if you're not going to show me the parts, because those parts, those pieces where people are hiding and not sharing, that's exactly what someone else needs to see, right? Those pieces of you, that way, that moment where you were when you had that revelation in your life is exactly what some other woman, business owner, single father, whomever needs to see that. So if you don't show that in your writing, you're wasting ink and you're really doing your reader a disservice. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge because people I'm not sure why they come to writing thinking that they don't have to express them, like they don't have to show us themselves. And maybe it's because they're new at this and no one ever told them that this is how the game goes, right? This is what writing involves. Like you said, transparency. So I think they come to it thinking, I'm just going to put a couple tips in here and, be away with it. I'm like, no, not if you want to change lives. You're going to give us the ugly, sis, bro. Let's have it. So.
Yeah. I've said to brothers and sisters often, because they ask me about writing, you have to be transparent. You have to talk about failures as much as you want. People want to talk about their successes. Well, you learn far more from failure than you do from success. So you just have to be honest enough to want to bring that out and talk about that. Writing is somewhat cathartic as well, right? If you get it out of your head and on paper, right? And you can stand back and look at that and you can process that psychologically. And I think that's one of the skills in the psychological that you do and Bay does, the badass editor, right? Is to psychologically manage that needed transparency to make an interesting story. It's cathartic, and we learn from our failures. That's really what people are interested in. All right. Should and can anyone write a book?
I think that if you're going to be transparent, if you're going to share something that's going to help somebody else, then yes, you should write a book. Even if I think if you want to write a book because it's self-expression, right? Be free to do that as well. But just do it and do it well, right? That's my biggest thing. As a nerd, self-proclaimed word nerd, my team of editors, just write it well. Make sure you get the right support. And I know for a fact that most people think that you have to wait until the end of the writing project to get an editor to look at it and help you make it make sense. But we, dealing with that psychological component, can help in the beginning. And it's so funny that you mentioned Dr. Haynes, because I was working with him when I had the revelation of the literary bays. And I was saying, I how can I just ask all of these questions to everybody, right? It's not just do this. It's not just a cookie cutter system to write a book. Somebody has to ask you a critical question, right? Again, everyone's story is valuable. You have experienced something that can help someone, but how do you know what to say and when to say it? And that's the critical component. That's the editor, the developmental editor, the other person that's going to be in the trenches with you. And that's really what birthed the base. I was like, I need to clone myself. There has to be another person that can just ask these questions. And that birthed this team of amazing ladies who get in there, and we help people from, who have gone through traumatic life experiences, people who have extremely successful businesses, all over the gamut, really help them write books because we're hands-on in that process. So I think anyone can do it, but it takes the right steps and the right process and the right support to do it right.
Yeah. Writing is really an art and a science. And so I agree with you, and to some extent disagree with you. I think that anyone should write a book. Sure. I don't know if anyone can write a book, right? I mean, what I have found in talking with people about this is that, generally speaking, even if you think you're a fairly good writer and you do not have the academic masters in English composition and English and composition studies, there's a whole science to the construction of words and the art of putting those words together and putting thoughts on paper. And I've noticed that the average person who starts writing something, and I've said this to people who wanted to write a book, I said, what you're going to find is you're going to find that you're full of things to write, but after about 5,000 words, you're going to start repeating yourself. So my advice to them is get some help. Mm-hmm. Get somebody that, like a Sharai Robbin, who understands how to pace a book, how to structure a book, how to, the proper syntax, the proper composition. And so I think they should write a book, but they should really question whether they personally can write the book, right? I don't think most can actually write the book. I think they need doctors, right? And I just remember that from my first book, right? Success Runs in Our Race. I got a massive contract from HarperCollins. In 26 years ago, I wrote about this in Success Runs in Our Race. $500,000 to write a book on networking targeted to Black people when there are already 14 books on networking. $500,000. Now, I did a Google on that. That's worth $1.1 million today. I had never written a book.
That's a nice advance.
Right? It's beautiful.
That's a pretty nice advance.
I had never written a book, Sharai. I was excited to get the money. It was like I hit the lottery. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time with the right idea. And you better believe I went and got some help.
Some help, yeah.
There's no question about that. I mean, first of all, I had plenty of money to do it, and I got some help. All right, and so I would suggest anyone, unless they are uniquely equipped with the kind of skills that you have, the kind of experiences you have, Sharai, the kind of resume that you have, get some help. Get some help. What are the first steps someone should take in order to write a book?
Well, on the heels of that conversation, one of the biggest things is the commitment, right? Is recognizing that it's going to kick your behind, right? That writing is not going to be this pleasant, euphoric. It's going to be, it's going to bring out some emotions from you. It's going to feel good like therapy. It is. But the process of, like you said, at 5,000 words, you kind of get repetitive. The process of taking all of the things that you're thinking about and making them make sense, one word after the other, one sentence after the other, extending your thought to connect it to something else. People often miss that, like they don't know that. So they have to learn how to do that. So I encourage people to understand that this is not like a super quick fly-by-night process, right? No. understand that you're going to have to commit to this process, or you're not going to get it done. And that's the reality. Either you commit to the process, commit to getting your butt kicked in a couple editing sessions, commit to getting that chapter. You know, I have clients turn stuff into me and it comes back all red and they're like, I don't like you. And I'm like, that's normal. I'm okay. And I'm used to that at this point in time. It's like, okay, no problem. Moving right along. I still need you to do chapter 2. So let's keep it pushing. But I think that people need to go into it with the commitment in mind, knowing that there's a commitment required. And they need to understand what they're doing it for, right? What are you actually writing this book for? Are you an intellectual and you want to write this book because it's a deep, well thought, dissection of networking and our race? Is that what you want? Or are you creating simple steps and strategies, right? What is the why behind this? Let's get that clear. Often I have my clients like take it and slap it on their board somewhere. Put the purpose, put the why, clear as day where you can see it. So when your friend is inviting you out for drinks, or when you go and you want to just lounge and watch whatever on TV for hours, the reason why is constantly in your face. You should always see it. So it's always making the commitment, knowing why you're doing this, knowing who this book is for, right? The one that kills me is I want to write a book and everybody's going to love my book. And I'm like, no, they're not.
No.
No. And if I can bust that bubble for you really early, then I can build you up with the facts, with the real information about how this works. So those are really my first 3 things. Let's get a commitment locked in. Let's know why you're doing this, because that why is going to help me as an editor structure this baby, right? Do we need to be going into more research for you? Is this a passion piece for you? And then who is this for? So then there's audience research. We need to know who we're marketing this to and the right words to put in your manuscript. So my top 3 would be commitment, knowing your purpose and your why, and then who are you writing this book for?
Yeah, that's deep. That's deep. That might take the average person a year to really.
Thank you. It's not going to take you 30 days though. It's not going to take
exactly right. I mean, that's deep. That's powerful. That's exactly those are exactly the steps that I have taken in writing. And again, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I am a success.
You should go ahead.
But yet that is so beautiful and so simply said. Now I say that to say this. At 75, I am getting ready to write my final book. Now, by the way, I've been getting ready to write my final book, Sharai, for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So first it was the commitment, because I know just what you're saying. I mean, it's a serious commitment of time, talent, and treasure. Right. So and then I had to get my why right. Because out of my why, because I think if you get the why right, the how will take care of itself. You get the why right, that helped me to create my first working title. That's how I write books, right? I start with a title that motivates me. That's what I do. After I take those 3 critical steps, right? I put my title. And then I try to say, well, what is this book going to be about? So I get those 2 things in place after I've done the first 3 things you just suggested. And then in this particular case, it's an autobiography, right? And I'm 75, so I'm going to talk about 75 years of life. So the first step for me to do that, because I'm sort of anal that way, was to take every year of my life. I'm going to show it to everybody. This is it, y'all. This is it. This is the beginning outline of my autobiography. You probably can't see that, but up here it says autobiography, my path, milestones, and preparation to lead a nation. Now, that's in essence what my legacy book will be about. My working title, just the working title. It may not end up being that. You don't even want to know what the working title was for Success Runs in Our Race, which turned up being a classic title. That wasn't a working title. It's after I got into the book and started writing the book that the real title appeared. But this is a working title. This is what inspired me. What is the working title? What's going on? My life, our future. That's my working title. And then what is this? From age 1 through 75.
Wow.
The most seminal thing I can remember every year of my birth. And out of that will come the story attached to that seminal thing. Now that's an autobiography. People would not necessarily take that tack if they're writing a novel, if they're just, writing a training book. Does being a published author affect your business and sales?
Absolutely.
Talk about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It does so many things when it comes to business and sales. One thing, the first thing that I teach my students all the time is that being an author, the root word of authority is author, right? So being an author of a book, it establishes that you know a whole heck of a lot about this something. Right? Like, you know so much about it, you done went around and wrote a book about it. Oh my goodness. Like, that is where it comes from. He knows so much, he could write a book on it. Oh, because he's an expert on that topic. So if you are in business, if you are providing a service for somebody, you know a whole lot about it, whatever it is. It could be hair, lawn care, it could be building bookshelves, it could be whatever it is. If you are an expert in that field, a book helps solidify that. It shows people that you are the go-to. You know a lot about this. And books are also incredible because books open doors that people can't get to for themselves. So when you have a book, it exposes you to people who will open up platforms for you to come and talk about your message. Now, this is if your message is clear, right? If you're talking about something, that's going to help somebody else, but it gives you a platform to be able to share this in other spaces. And it puts you in front of millions of readers, right? Not just the stage. Now, lots of people like the stage. Not always I'll be hiding from the stage sometimes, George, if I could be honest with you. But I like to teach. But there are people who love the big stage. I'm not that person. I like the small, intimate spaces. I like the classroom settings. But no matter how many times you're on stage, you can only present maybe once a day, 2, 3, 4 times a day, maybe at max, right? That's it. But you could sell 500 books a day. Right? You can sell. Everyone in that room talking to you, meeting with you, may not be able to afford your services or your big ticket package, whatever that is, but everybody can walk away with a $20 book. Everybody can leave with a piece of you. And then there are people who will never come to conferences and events or never see you on stage, but they'll find your book on Amazon because they'll be searching for an answer to their problem, and your book is there. So absolutely, if you are a business owner, if you have knowledge and expertise, and I tell my team this all the time, my students, you guys are experts on something. You are a subject matter expert. You know this stuff. Be confident in this stuff and write the book so that it can help you build your business, share your message. I have people who've written steps in their book, and they give them to every new client. Right? Here's how we function. Here's what you need to know about me. This is my backstory. All these specifics that they have in their manuscripts, because it helps their business. So absolutely, if you're a business owner, you should have a book.
Yeah. You talked about this a little bit earlier, but prior to writing a book, and certainly for the big publishers, you need a treatment. You talked about some elements of the treatment. And that's a whole nother science too.
It is.
There are people that specialize in only writing treatments. Then there's people that specialize in ghost writing. Then there's people that specialize in serious editing of the stuff you thought was good, right? Right? And in the proper sequence. Does the BAEs do all of that? Do you write treatments? Right? You ghost write? You offer that service?
We do not do treatments. That's probably the only thing that we don't do is a treatment, and not because we can't, just because we haven't at this point yet. Most of our clients are self-published, so they don't necessarily need a treatment.
Sharai, just real quick, could you give, because I'm a stickler on this, because sometimes we have a lot of newbies that join the program. So could you explain what a treatment is so that those who have no idea can kind of begin to wrap their minds around what you're telling them?
Sure. So a treatment is like a book synopsis in a sense, but it breaks it down. It depends on the publisher, but it breaks it down in chapter by chapter, exactly what you're going to cover, what the outcomes are going to be. And it prepares, even in some treatments, it prepares the publisher to know how they're going to market your manuscript. So, because that's on them at this point in time. So if you go with the traditional publisher, so it's really like an inflated, very, very juicy and salacious book synopsis, right? But not just, there's no cliffhangers. You give them everything so they know exactly what they have to deal with as a publishing house.
Yeah, in the spirit of transparency, I had to hire a person to write the treatment for Success Runs in Our Race.
Mm-hmm.
It cost me $5,000 to get the treatment written. The treatment is just as Sharai said. It's also the business plan. It has a business plan element, the marketing, the design, and all of those things. Who do you think it's going to be appealed to? And all of the business numbers. That's the treatment. But you don't typically need that for a self-published book, but it's good to have it. I mean, why not? You have your own little bit, right? Right? Why not? I mean, you don't have. It doesn't have to be that extensive, but we were dealing with HarperCollins and McGraw-Hill, and they were competing, and because the book got into competition, that's why the numbers exploded on the advance. But treatments are important if, in fact, you are able to get an offer from a major publisher. So if someone got an offer from a major publisher, Sharai, and they came to you and asked you to do a treatment, would you do that? Would you?
Absolutely, because we don't stack it that way. We stack it a little differently in how we prepare you to write your book anyway. So like you said, these are pieces that you need to know as a self-published author. You need to know who your audience is. You need to know, in every single chapter, what your points are going to be. So we go through this process with you and teaching you and coaching you on how to write, but to be able to prepare it, absolutely, we could do a treatment.
Yeah. In your network of VAEs, do you have African-American agents, or do you agent or represent a book to a major publisher for someone?
So none of the bays are agents, but in my network of friends, I have agent friends, right? Because I have friends who are editors, who are literary agents. I've been an editor for almost 19 years now. So I have a few friends in the business who are literary agents, and it's a great relationship, because I'll have some who go, we have this great book, Sharai, we got this client, he's amazing, but this book needs some love. So we're gonna send him to you so you can fix this up, and then we'll give them a contract, or they'll take it from there. And then I have clients who we work all the way through, and they're like, okay, I think I want to shop this around. Okay, well, let me connect you, to an agent.
That's right. We need to connect them to a book designer. People who,
that too.
Yeah, who design. That's huge. That's the packaging, right?
Absolutely.
You have book designers, good African-American book designers as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I have a whole ground team of people.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what's really, really needed. Does being a published author, now let me say that differently. Is it worth it to go through the rabbit hole that you need to go through to come outside on the other end with a product that you've invested in an enormous amount of time in, and treasure and talent? Is writing a book worth it at the end of the day?
Yes, absolutely. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, because one book can change your life. One book, it just takes one. It takes one impactful message to position you for greatness, to position people to recognize you as the authority, as the thought leader. It just takes one. So I know that, yeah, it's absolutely worth it. It's hard though, right? And people get discouraged, they go through the fight and they want to quit. But at the end of the day, when they can go back to that purpose on the wall and they can see why they're doing this and see what they want to get out of this, then yes, the outcome is always greater. I've seen so many of my incredible clients who didn't even start wanting to be, you know, teaching all over the place. It's like, oh, I want to tell my story and I want to have like local celebrity. Brands are huge, major. They're coaching in London. Like they're doing amazing things because of one book. So if you ask me, is it worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
Um,
George, I
yes.
just want to say, just chime in real quick on 2 points that you said. I think just writing the book does something for your confidence. I tell, even if it's a smaller book, if you're trying to get started in the business arena, nothing is going to boost your confidence more than having something that has come out of your head, something that you have that you can now analyze and put before people. Even if you don't sell one book, you should write a book just to put it on your own table, just so that you can look at it and say, I wrote that book. It just does something to change your confidence. And the other thing, George, I think that's a valuable point. It causes you to really think through your message. If you're going to put in that time and energy and really work to compose a book, at the end of the day, as Sharai said, now you're truly an expert, because now you've taken the time to really weave through every thought, you've added in, you've taken it away. So now your message is very concise. So for those 2 reasons, I think it's worth it beyond a reasonable doubt that everyone should at least attempt to write a book.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I think Sharai hit the nail on the head. One book can change your life. Yeah. I mean, this is the honest to God truth. This book changed my life. It led to this book, which led to this book.
Right.
Which led to this. One book can change your life.
Right.
It got me on the cover of Black Enterprise magazine. That changed my life.
And not the digital version, the real version,
no,
the earlier version with Earl Graves.
This is the magazine,
right?
So one book, your story, if you have the courage to tell that story and to talk about, there's as much about failure in here as there is about success. Now it's titled Success Runs in Our Race, but much of it is about failure, how the failure led to success. So Sharai hit the nail on the head. One book can change your life. It'll help you concretize your story. That could lead to talking about your book. I mean, it's just a whole domino effect, right, Sharai? Right? No
Absolutely.
question about it, right?
Absolutely.
How long does it take somebody to write a book?
Okay, so that's a tough one. It takes you as long as it takes you to receive constructive criticism, right? It could take you 90 days to get the first draft out. It could take you 30 days to get the first draft out. That all depends on the book, the message, you know, the size of it, you know, what you're working on. But if you are working with myself and my team of editors, it takes how you take constructive criticism, right? Because you could think that you're finished and then you get this chapter back and you have to make changes. And sometimes it's the making the change that we see a lot of resistance, or people are like, I have to do all of that. I got to do more work. That's more work now. They don't understand that there are multiple drafts, right? If I walked into a room of a bunch of writers and I were to say, man, this manuscript is kicking my butt, I'm on draft 6. They like, draft 6? Way to go, Sharai. Draft 6, you're doing it. If I walk into a room of business owners who have never written a book and they hear draft 6, they're like, draft 6? Oh my God, I ain't got time for draft 6. That's too much. But if you understand the process and you commit to it, then it could take as little as 30 days for something small, but it could take up to a year if you're really putting your heart and soul into this.
That's right. That's a very important point. You have to be committed. Part of the commitment is to stick with it until it's done. To put the time in, quiet time. It's very difficult to write a book of substance and you have 50 interruptions, every 2 hours. And a lot of people don't want to commit that kind of time, but that's what it takes to write the kind of books that Sharai probably will accept if you make that kind of commitment. Anything less than that, the book is just not going to be what it needs to be. I can tell you, this took a year.
Mm-hmm.
It was approved by the publishers, HarperCollins, in its 17th version. 17 drafts.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And each one was painful. They send it back to you, send them, your draft, and it comes back all marked up, and you got to change this, you got to move this, that doesn't make any sense, that doesn't fall, and you got to figure all that out. And it can be frustrating at times, all right? But you got to stick with it. So that's a very, very, very important time. Why do people start writing books but never finish them?
I think because they realize that it's not as easy as they thought, right? I think that they come into it thinking, because they see so many published books, that they are, what's the saying? You're comparing your chapter 1 to somebody's chapter 20 or something along those lines, right? They see the finished product of it. They see the success that comes from it. So it's like, oh, this must be easy. Everybody's writing books, so I'm gonna just write a book. And then they get into it and like, wait a minute, nobody told me that I had to think about things really seriously, or nobody told me I had to be transparent, or nobody told me that you were going to tear my chapter apart, or nobody told me these things. That's one of the things that I love about my team and I, is that we tell you, we let you know, coming into this, what this requires. But I think so many people started and never see the finish line, because they don't realize that it is a process to get there, that it's not a simple just brain dump, and get it done. And now, the book is over. We get people's first drafts and we're like, no, I want you to read that first before you send us that draft. Like, we don't want a first draft. Do your second draft, and then, let's start working through that process, because you don't know what you even put on that paper. Like, once you start asking questions, it's just a lot of confusion. So I think people just don't recognize that writing is work. Right? I think that it seems so easy. With the advent of self-publishing, anyone can write a book, which is great, but it's also scary because anyone can write a book, right? They can publish anything at any point in time. So because whomever just put their blog post in one piece and now it's all grammatically jacked on Amazon, you're like, I want to do that too. So I think that when people really want to write substance and they see that it takes a lot of work on their part, it scares them. And some people quit.
Yeah. Well, you're also like a coach too. I mean, you sort of serve, you serve as a coach and also as a ghost writer, but a sort of a consultant to the project. So, and of course,
Sure.
Self-publishing is really the choice du jour, I think, today.
You said ghost writer?
The choice du jour. People are choosing to self-publish than to try to get through. Right, to get through to a major publishing house. I mean, it's unless you're a celebrity today or have major television time. Go ahead, Brother Bedford.
No, just wanted to ask Sharai a question, because we have a bunch of questions coming in. So the point that you just made about you really said the barrier of entry is so low now, right? With so many people being able to self-publish. Someone, I believe it was Marion, asked the question, well, how do you differentiate your story if there already appears to be a bunch of stories similar to yours? So how do you make your story different?
Is that the question for me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll tell you this. Here's one of the things that I love. And I ask this question to my students all the time. I ask them, have you ever been to McDonald's? Most people are like, yeah, awesome. You ever been to Chick-fil-A? I've been there too. How about Wendy's? Burger King? Hardee's, whatever there is, right? You've been to a host of different fast food places, and most times you'll see them all on the same strip, right? There's a bunch of them all right here. KFC's across the street from Chick-fil-A, whatever, they're right there. When people ask that question, it's because they're afraid that they're not going to be received because there's so many other people in the market. But when the whole chicken sandwich thing went crazy, Chick-fil-A didn't flinch. They didn't do nothing different. They just kept on rolling and provided good content and good quality stuff to people. They kept serving with the best that they had. And that's what you had to do. When you have a good story, when you have a good message, you can't worry about comparing it to what somebody else has or what they're doing. Write your best, give your best, because again, what you have and the way that you say it, how you tell your story. My dad says, not what you say, is how you say it, right? So how you tell your story makes a difference. And it may be, she has a similar story, but because you said that one thing, these cluster of women gravitate to you this way. Or because you present yourself, or you're this kind of person, someone leans into you this way. So tell your story, because it's your story and you as a person that stand out. And that's what makes people gravitate towards you. Don't worry about everybody else. Do you.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Listen, there is no one on earth like you. This is truth. This is not BS. There's no one on earth like you. There's no one that has lived your life in the sequence in which you lived your life, in the experiences in which you had in your life, in that sequence, exactly like you. That is as unique as your thumbprint. Everybody has a story. And Sharai's right, it's how you tell it. But everybody has a story, and it's unique to you. So don't be afraid of that. No one is going to say it exactly like you. You're going to have help from an expert. That's why you have an expert. If you're smart, you're going to get an expert to help you. And they know how to figure that out. Sharai, what is it? Let's get into a little bit of numbers here. What is, well, what should one invest in dollars, for example, to self-publish their own book, their own story, their own training book, or whatever, coaching book, whatever they want to. What's a fair number that people should be willing to invest? Because it's not free. As freedom ain't free.
Okay. So is your question about self-publishing, or about, is it solely self-publishing?
Self-publishing. Yeah.
So self-publishing is going to require you there's multiple pieces to it. So in self-publishing, you need your cover design, your layout, your grammar edit. You need some professional photos taken. So I would, low end, and I mean like low end, about $1,000, like low end for something like that. But if you're going to, do it as you should and do it right, and you have a marketing plan and you have a social media strategy, and you are making use of your platform, then you have a mailing list, and you're going to be sending out content, and you're really pushing this the right way, instead of, my students laugh at me all the time, but I do this, like, instead of going, hey, I wrote a book, buy my book, I wrote a book, buy my book, and you're jumping out the woodworks with a book, all, just this random piece of information, you've done no prep work, then whatever you spend is going to be, whether you spend $100 or $100,000, it's not going to work unless you do the preparation. So low end of the spectrum, I'd say like about $1,000. And then it can go up, there's some, and this is if you do it by yourself, right? This is if you do it solo, you can penny pinch and, figure some things out. But if you make an investment and you have, my team, or there are lots of self-publishing companies that help people self-publish, we provide self-publishing package for about $4,000 to help you publish your book.
Okay. No, that's a fair number. Yeah.
Let me jam. Quick question. What is, because this is another question that was in, so you're speaking right into a lot of the questions that are in the feed. So one of the questions was, what is the difference between your company, what you offer in terms of that type of package, as opposed to all of the other self-publishing companies that are online? Some of the just general companies that are saying, let us help you to write your book. What do you offer that would differentiate you from them?
Absolutely. So two things that I love, and I'll say it all the time, is myself and the bays, is the hands-on editing support. And unfortunately, we get a lot of clients who have gone through other self-publishing programs, and they are provided with an edit, and that edit is usually a grammar edit. So the client comes with the manuscript, first or second draft, the business does an edit, and the client gets it back, and it's like, well, they just fixed my spelling, but now I still don't know if it makes sense. right? So they still don't have somebody working with them to make sure the writing is good. The development of the manuscript is good. So the bays are able to assist you in writing a good book. And then when it comes to the publishing aspect of it, I can't speak for what every business does and how they function and what they do. But for us, and for me, especially having been signed with the major and going through the process and self-publishing also, I don't like people's hands in my pockets. I want all my checks right here. Just give them right to Sharai. Like, don't bring them to anybody else. So we position you so that you are your own publishing company, right? Good Ground Literary Services is not your publisher, right? We are the entity that is working in the back, making sure the cover design is good, layout is good, all those pieces are done. But then you own it. You own your rights, royalties, everything. You are solely responsible for your book. So we teach you how to launch it, how to promote it, how to get it out there. But it's your baby. So we help you write it, prepare it with an editor who cares about your project and who can teach you how to write. And then we not allow you, but we give you the tools so that you have your business in your hands and you're not working with other companies. And not trying to drag anybody, but I've seen it time and time again, where these companies charge you for this work, and then they charge you, they are your publisher. So now they get royalties from your project, but you're still the one pushing it. You're still the one promoting it. And they're just taking a piece of it because they slapped it up on Amazon for you. So that's not what we like to do. So we really want to empower people to have their own business and understand how to own your own rights and royalties for your manuscripts.
That's good advice. My first 3 books, the ones I just showed everybody, were published by major publishers: McGraw-Hill, HarperCollins, William Morrow. My second 3 books, up there on my library, were self-published because I learned lessons, right? My first 3 books, my publishers got 85% of everything. I got 15. My second 3 books, all self-published, but at the same level of quality that you're talking about, Sharai.
Yeah.
I got 90% of everything. I owned everything, all the royalties and everything, all right? And the cost of producing it long-term is about 10% of the revenue that I've received. So I don't really own this. HarperCollins owns this, right? I own 15% of it. I wrote it all, put it all together, sold it all, but I don't really own it. They own it, right? So my advice for brothers and sisters who are thinking about writing a book, and you should, self-publish it. Own your own masters. I don't own my own masters, right? No, I was highly paid in advance for it. In this book, which is 26 years old, still sells 10,000 copies on Amazon every year, 26 years later. But guess who's benefiting from that 26 years later? The most. HarperCollins. Publish your own book. Own your own masters. And believe it or not, Sharai, we're already out of time, but I want to ask you two final questions. What's the biggest mistake first-time writers make?
Biggest mistake that first-time writers make is thinking that this is fast and easy. That's it. I think that they just think it's fast and easy. If you're willing to come to it knowing that this is a learning process, that one, it's a process, and 2, that you have to be open to learn how to do it, then you can learn. You can be taught, right? We can teach you. The team can teach you. We've been through this dozens of times. So, but the biggest mistake is that I know all the answers and this is going to just be so fast and easy. No, just be open to learn.
Do me a personal favor and recap very quickly the first 3 steps anyone needs to take to get started with writing a book.
Absolutely. Quick, fast, and easy. Commit. Make the commitment. Decide that you're going to do it. Like you said, do it till it's done. Keep at it, that you are going to keep working at this manuscript. You're going to see it to completion. You're going to commit to see this thing published in your hand. Hold your baby. Make the commitment. The second one is know your why. Understand why you're doing this. And I advise you to slap your purpose clear as day on the wall. Why are you doing this? Why are you going to submit yourself to this? What is the reason behind this? Is it to help other people? Is it to make lots and lots of money? Whatever it is, none of them are wrong. Just know what the why is, and then understand who you're talking to. Who is your audience? You say different things, different ways to different people. So who are you speaking to? So those are 3. Commit, know your why, and understand your audience.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Now, how does your team of literary bays, BAES, badass editors, help us find it? And how can people get in touch with you?
So the latter question first, you can find us at literarybay.com, just like that, literarybay.com. And we get into the ugly with you, right? We get into the trenches with you, which is the biggest, I'm a super nerd, I really am. It gets me so excited, right? To know that this group of women, this team of intellectual and sound and educated and polished professional women, they care. They care so much, right? And for me, I know that writing is going to kick you behind. So to know that this group of women, if we pair you with somebody who cares about you and will push you and challenge you and motivate you and encourage you and lift you up. All the time we say we're prayer coaches, we're your cheerleaders, we're everything we can be, because we know that this is a process that people are unfamiliar with and it's going to be challenging. And if you don't have the right support, you're going to run. So, and often we're track stars. So we have to put our sneakers on and chase our clients down, right? Sometimes you give them a little bit of space, like she's having a moment. It was a tough chapter. Let her breathe, but check her on Tuesday at 2:00. Make sure you check on her and see if she's okay. So, but it's a process. And because we're like a family, I love my babies. Because we're like a family, we get to talk about these things together and how we as editors can improve. So if this worked for your client, hey, maybe I can try that. Let's put that in the tool vault. Let's put that in the kit so we can continue to grow and improve and help the people that we serve. So for me, it's because they care and they're good at it. So, yeah.
Wow. I mean, can you believe an hour is already gone? More than an hour is already gone. And that's what's so fascinating, so I think enriching about these podcasts. We have people who are just brilliant in their subject matter expertise, and the hour just goes by so quickly. I mean, we could talk for another hour on this, and I wish we had the time, but we really, really appreciate you. Brother Biff, I don't know if you had any other final question for Sharai.
The only question I have,
if you had a final thought.
Well, two things. First, make sure that you give everyone your contact information. I think you kind of left that part off, Sharai. Want people to know how to get in contact with you, because this conversation between yourself and Dr. Fraser was extremely rich in content about book writing, and not just putting together a quick manual, a little 3 steps here, like what we do. We do a lot of lead generating books that don't require a lot of thought process and things. I got 7 steps, I put that together. But when people are writing the type of book that you're talking about, and really learning the lessons that Dr. Fraser touched on earlier about it being very therapeutic, we talked about the confidence, but more important, and I think the big takeaway for me, Dr. Fraser, was that the process that you and Sharai are talking about really helps the person become the expert that they're trying to be. If you don't go through this process to think through what it is you actually offer to the marketplace, the story you're trying to tell, the people you're trying to touch, you can never say that you're an expert if you haven't thought through the process. So I love the way that you two broke that down and really showed the benefits of doing it that way and not a quick fix. So Sharai, thank you for that, and make sure that you give your contact information. The only other thing I wanted to say, Dr. Fraser, before I turn it back over to Sharai to give her information, is that I want everyone to mark on their calendar for Tuesday, another epic conversation, George, and I think you know the person rather intimately, Emma Fraser Pendleton will be with
Emma
us.
Fraser Pendleton.
Yeah, will be with us Tuesday. So we want to make sure we let you know in advance, because a lot of people want to always hear from Emma. And so we want you to mark that on your calendar for Tuesday at 7:00 p.m. Eastern time. So again, thank you, Sharai. I just wanted to thank you. And again, please give everyone your contact information.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you again.
And Sharai, give them your final thoughts. Give them your final thoughts, whatever you want to say. Certainly give them your information, whatever closing thoughts you want to have. I know that being a published author has benefited you greatly. And so whatever you want to say.
My first thought is I love me some Emma, so I'm looking forward to Tuesday. That's my first thought. That's my bill. But when it comes to writing, do it. Do it. Write the book, right? Really sit down and do it. If you are going to say that like you said, if you're an expert on something, write the book. It is so worth it. Get the right help. Get the support that you need. You know, everyone has a story. We're all so gifted in something. Share that knowledge. Share that information. You know, it can change your life. So I encourage people to write their stories. Don't run away from that. Don't hold on to it, right? And I so believe that our stumbling blocks are someone else's stepping stones. So if you're holding on to that, like you're blocking someone else from getting what they need, release that thing. Give that. It's not yours to hold on to anymore. You've been through it. You've experienced it. Give it away so that you can benefit and move on to the next thing in your life. So that's my big thing for people, is to share that message, share the ugly, give it up, so that it can bless somebody else. And if you're looking for me and my wonderful team, you can find us at goodgroundlit.com. Or literarybay.com. And I'm Sharai Robbin on Facebook.
Yeah. And that's your story. You're sticking to it. Sharai is going to be at the Power Networking Conference October the 14th through 17th in Houston, Texas. You want to be there to meet her in living color. She shows up and she performs and she stays, and you can touch her, you can talk to her, you can get some advice, some counsel. She's live and in living color for 4 days with us at the Power Network Conference. So you want to join us. As you know, at the end of each podcast, we make a special Power Networking Conference offer. It's a place that you want to come to connect, grow, and prosper. That's what you want to do. That's what we've been talking about for 19 years. The conference is 19 years old. Named by Forbes magazine as one of the top 5 conferences in America, not to be missed, not one of the top 5 Black conferences, but one of the top 5 of all conferences produced in this country, right? It's that because we have brothers and sisters that you've met on the podcast, like Sharai Robbin. So you want to come there and you want to ultimately end up where all of our citizens of our nation of the Power Networking Conference end up, because this is the bottom line, and this is what we harp on, this is what we teach, this is how we help you grow, and this is our motto, that we as Black people must learn, earn, and return. We have a lot of us learning and a lot of us earning, but not enough of us returning, and therein lies our problem. We will show you how to do that. So if you want to take advantage of the conference, you have 5 people. This offer is good till midnight or until we get 5 people. You can only get this offer through me, as you know, and you have to email me. You can go to the powernetworkingconference.com website. You'll learn all about the conference, but you can't get this offer. You have to email me at gfraser@frasernet.com. That's gfraser@frasernet.com. That's gfraser, Fraser, @frasernet.com. Say I'm in the subject line, and then put your full name and cell number in the body of the email. Full name and cell number, so I can hit that number and it'll automatically dial you, because I'll look at it on my phone. And I will call you. I will call you. An adult registration for the conference is $1,500. If you met one person that could help change the trajectory of your life, would that be worth $1,500? The answer to that would be hell to the yes. It would be worth $1,500. We want you to bring a young person, a college-age student, 17 to 25. A student registration is $800. So $800 and an adult registration, to put the two together, one student, one adult, $2,300. We're going to take $1,900 off of that. You can come to the conference in Houston, October 14th to the 17th for $399. That offer is good for the first 5 people. $399. That is a $1,900 discount. A place where you can go for 4 intense days, and believe me, by the time COVID-19 is all said and done, you're going to be ready to get the hell out of the house, and you're going to want to be around our people, because Black people miss each other. We miss each other. In fact, when we come together, you can hardly pull us apart. We won't even shut up. We won't sit down. Okay, that's one of the biggest problems we have, is getting people to be quiet and sit down and listen to these wonderful, wonderful instructions and power talks and workshops. So that's the offer, $3.99. The first 5 people get that offer. Okay, gfraser@frasernet.com. That's our show for tonight. I just have one closing thought for tonight relative to what we learned tonight. And Sharai said it over and over and over. Keep it simple. Think about this in 3 very simple ways. Why? Why, Dr. Fraser? Because complexity is the enemy of execution. And the more complex you make this in your own mind, the more reasons you will have for not doing it. Keep it simple. Stay focused. First things first, second things never. Do the first thing. Do it with excellence. And then the second thing becomes the first thing. That's our story tonight. That's our show tonight. Thank you, Sharai Robbins. You're awesome. We love you. Brothers and sisters, stay healthy, stay safe. Have a good Sunday. Watch church online. And we'll see you on Tuesday with my sister, Dr. Emma Fraser Pendleton, the only person living on earth that has been with me every minute and every day and every year of my life. Good night, everybody.